Something not brought up in these books is the fact that some of these cultural artifacts shouldn't belong in another country's museums to begin with, just as much as they should not belong to private art collectors or Cahill strongholds either. We are all about repatriating artifacts to their home countries. Hi, hello, ¿cómo estás? I am Jan, welcome to my channel. Here I read books from my childhood and recap their events here with you all. This is an adult channel meant for adult viewers, and now, on to this spoiler-filled recap. Wanted by Interpol, international criminals Dan and Amy have teamed up with Jake and Atticus Rosenblum as they continue following the Vespers' plans for
world domination!
We've identified two Vespers now. Vesper 6 is Cheyenne, Wyoming, and now Vespers 5 is Luna Amato, an Interpol agent. The Vespers have the Medusa, Il Milione, the Diverga world map, and now Ulubeg's astrolabe. What could they possibly want with these artifacts? Jake, Amy, Dan, and Atticus arrive at the Berlin airport. Atticus is telling Dan about the weird weather going on around the world. Let's just tuck that bit of information away for later. They're attacked by two armed officers who were actually sent by Vesper One to deliver a fake diamond for them to switch with the real one. And they only have mere hours to do so before the museum closes. In Pompeii, we witness a mysterious exchange between Vesper 1 and Vesper 4. With Erasmus, Jonah, and Hamilton, they realize Vesper and Interpol agent Luna Amato is there as well. Sandy Bancroft is still there, Hamilton's idol, that weatherman dude. Meanwhile, the hostages are really going through it, barely getting enough water or food. They're getting weaker and morale is low. In Berlin, Atticus is doing research on the diamond, learning their target is the Golden Jubilee in the Pergamon Museum. Dan and Atticus do some reconnaissance in the museum, and Amy and Jake have a heart-to-heart moment in the car outside. He questions her about the Guardians, and Amy quickly changes the subject. Amy heads into the museum next. Her and Dan separated to avoid raising suspicions.
Don't be suspicious.
Atticus, meanwhile, was sweet-talking the security guard to get a tour of the security system and noticed that he was looking over a wanted poster of Dan and Amy and quickly notifies them. And Dan has noticed that the symbol on the Ishtar gate was the same symbol as the one on the Diverga world map.
Coincidence? I think not!
Atticus is in the security office watching security cameras when he spots Agent Milos Vanek in the museum. He texts Amy while the security chief continues talking. Dan is thinking about how impossible it's going to be to get the Jubilee diamond out of there. When Amy is spotted by facial recognition software, Atticus hacks the system and shuts it down.
H-A-C-K, hack, press enter.
In the darkness, Dan is trying to avoid Vanek when he realizes they've run out of time and it's too late, and Amy and Atticus are caught by guards. When Vanek tries handcuffing himself to Dan, Dan picks the lock and lifts the officer's wallet and keys off of him while handcuffing him to his stanchion. He runs into Jake in the lobby, and they make a plan to break Amy and Atticus out of the hands of security. Jake goes in disguised as an Interpol agent and tricks the guards into handing over Amy and Atticus. He gets them out without issue, and they drive away, defeated. Amy realizes she lost her watch, the one with Gideon's ring embedded into it. She left it in the museum when she was passing through the metal detectors. Her panic is disrupted by a text from Vesper One, thanking them for their help, apologizing for setting them up, and then telling them to go to Timbuktu. If they fail, they'll lose either Alistair or Phoenix. Jake tries getting them a flight to Bamako, Mali, the closest one can fly to get to Timbuktu directly. Amy suggests they use Jonah's jet instead. They check into a hotel for the night, and Jake asks Dan if Amy and Evan are serious. Amy and Evan have a sweet moment until he asks about Jake. Evan admits he thinks there's a mole amongst them when Ian finally arrives back in Attleboro. Saladin attacked Ian again. The cat really does not like him, leaving him a bit bloody. Erasmus calls Dan and updates them that Jonah, Hamilton, and him are in Mumbai following Luna Amato. He also tells him that the jet is on the way. On the news, they see that a manuscript was stolen from the Pergamon, the Book of Ingenious Devices, and they spot the Wyomings in the back holding a suspicious-looking bundle.
Don't be suspicious.
With the hostages, they enact a plan where Reagan pretends to be dead to lure the guards out and attack them, slipping out the door and leaving their wardens behind. With Casper and Cheyenne, they're told by Vesper One to head to Bamako and to keep an eye on Amy and Dan but to not interfere. They're on thin ice for going rogue last time. Milos Venek shows up at their hotel the next day. Amy lets him in to talk. He has her watch, which is how he also got her number. In exchange for it, they give him the location of Luna Amato and his wallet back. In Mumbai, Amy tells Jonah and Hamilton to keep an eye out for Milos. Erasmus goes to a cyber cafe to review Cahill data, finding two notable events. Electromagnets were stolen from France, and a replica of the Antikythera mechanism was stolen from Montana. He thinks he's using a flash drive to wipe the computer, unknowingly transferring all data to Vesper 3, who sends out a command to release the bait. Back with the hostages in their second escape attempt, they make it to a fork in a tunnel and use Ted Starling's exceptional hearing to find the right path out.
Go left.
Left.
What?
We go left.
You can't see.
Trust me.
Then they have to climb up a shaft as guards are quickly approaching. Reagan scares them off a bit with the pistol she swiped, and they use the last bullet to shoot the padlock on a grate to crawl out into an open air. Here, they split up with Reagan and Nellie hanging back to stall the guards while the others get away. Nellie is attacked by guard dogs, who bite her leg and face before security catches up with them. They cuff them and put them in a truck. With the others, they reach a cliff face over a ravine and begin a trek down a narrow path. But then Phoenix slips. Alistair catches him, but Phoenix lets go anyway, falling into the raging river far below. Just then, a random hiker finds them and tells them they're in the Black Forest in Germany. They head back up the cliff face but are attacked by Vespers, who subdue them all and kill the hiker. With Phoenix, he is nearly drowned by the rapids but miraculously survives. Dan, Amy, Jake, and Atticus arrive in Timbuktu and hire a taxi driver named Bart to drive them around. His actual name is Basharat Antara Rawaha Tajamul, which isn't that hard to say, and I wish this wasn't the age of giving American nicknames to hard-to-pronounce names.
At the same time, miles away.
Milos Venek arrives in Mumbai, already on the trail for Jonah Wizard, who will lead him to Luna Amato. The hostages are taken to a mountaintop compound where they are locked up again. Everyone is confused because Martin said they were in Germany, but things aren't adding up. Like, they found American MREs. Meanwhile, Phoenix is stuck in the wilderness eating raw fish and avoiding bears and mountain lions. Bart drops off Jake and Amy at the Ahmed Baba Institute, and then he takes Atticus and Dan to the Mama Haidera Library. He also tells his son, the mouse, to help deliver messages between the groups because cell phone reception is kind of spotty in Timbuktu. Dan tells At that they'll need to ditch their driver because he's asking way too many questions. Amy and Jake are shown around the library, unsure how they'll find a text written in the margins of one of the thousands of manuscripts. They also have a moment where they almost kiss, which makes things awkward. At the Hidara library, they don't have much luck, but they get a message from Amy to look in the margins. Together, Atticus and Dan begin combing through public and private collections for manuscripts. Back with Jake and Amy, she decides they need to split up and search.
I think we should split up.
Dan and Atticus have no luck, but when Dan gets a signal, he gets a message from his father that leaves him feeling hollow and confused. In Mumbai, Erasmus, Jonah, and Hamilton are still tailing Luna Amato. They follow her to a warehouse that Erasmus believes is a Vesper safe house. She leaves the building not too long later, and Erasmus orders Jonah and Ham to keep tailing her while he does some breaking and entering. Erasmus notifies Amy about the stronghold. When she goes to the next library, she learns from the librarian that the Wyomings are in town and also looking for the same thing. Also, apparently the librarian at the Baba Institute called every librarian in town to see if anyone has heard of the manuscript. Dan gets sidetracked looking for serum ingredients. He's also snapping at my boy Atticus in his frustration. Dan notices a painting of the Ishtar Gate and goes to investigate, pointing out the compass rose to Atticus. They ask the painter about it, learning that he is the father of Bart. He tells them about the archaeologist Robert Koldevay and his archaeological dig outside of Timbuktu. They also learn from Mr. Tajamul that the well marked by Koldevay was called Margin of Error. When they go to leave, they run into Casper threatening the mouse with a knife.
You raggedy bitch.
Dan uses his cell phone to draw in a crowd to create a diversion to save the child. Together they escape to the roof and jump across, narrowly escaping the clutches of the Wyomings. In Mumbai, Jonah and Hamilton tail Luna to Mahim Fort, where it's revealed to be a ruse. They were never following the real Luna Amato in the first place. They get ambushed and have to make a break for it, stealing a sailboat. Back with the Wyomings pulling themselves together, They're bickering as per usual. When Dan and Atticus meet up with Jake and Amy, they fill each other in on the Roman ruins. They agree to all go, and Bart says he can't drive them, but they'll have to take camels instead. Erasmus is getting ready to break into the Vesper stronghold, thinking about how he knowingly sent Hamilton and Jonah after the fake Luna Amato. Inside the safe house, he finds evidence of Vesper activity, and then he hears a door open. It's Milos Vanek. Luna attacks him, and before she can shoot him, Erasmus interferes, throwing a shuriken at her hand. He takes her gun, but in a moment of distraction, Luna throws her shuriken at his heart, striking true. Just then, Jonah bursts in carrying Vanek's gun and shooting Luna in the torso, killing her. Erasmus tells them to take the cell phones and run, but he dies before he can tell them anymore. Hamilton grabs a handcuffed Vanek, chair and all, and they all run out the building before it explodes. They leave Vanek in an alley and run off. Outside of Timbuktu, our young heroes arrive at the Roman ruins and find the cultivate mark on the well. But Jake says it's actually an air vent for a mine, and him and Dan jump down first, followed by Amy and Atticus. They find a room at the end of the tunnel. In it is a salt slab with Latin writing. It's the thing they're looking for. It's an apology from Gaius Marius for killing someone and stealing some kind of invention.
Coincidence? I think not!
Just then, the Wyoming show up holding Bart and Mouse as hostages. They want the slab. Jake thinks of taking a charcoal rubbing of the apology. Amy and Dan go up to try and stall the twins. Jake eventually comes up with the slab and gives it to the twins in exchange for their lives. Hamilton calls Evan in Attleboro, updating him about what happened. Evan goes to update Sinead. She texts Amy, telling her the news and that she knows Ian is the traitor. Amy calls Ian and yells at him. Then Vesper One texts them. He tells them that Phoenix is dead because of their failure. Oh, poor Jonah. Now he has blood on his hands, and he has lost himself to his grief and pain at having taken a life. Vesper 5 is dead. Erasmus is dead. William McIntyre is dead. So many bodies are piling up, and now Phoenix is on his own trying to survive in the wilderness. Amy and Dan were successful, but Vesper One is just toying with their emotions and using the things they don't know against them.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Jake and Amy were annoying as usual, honestly, and it's officially become a love triangle. I also have a feeling Dan isn't really texting his father. I don't believe the real Arthur could actually bear to not be around his kids, no matter how evil he is. I also don't think Ian was the mole. It seems too obvious and on the nose. I don't know who else I suspect, but I do have a feeling that the weatherman guy is a suspect of some kind. And that's all I have to say for now. Thank you for watching my video, and don't forget to leave a like, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Bye!
Bye!